Hey sports fans, here's a tip to keep in mind the next time you make your betting picks. According to research, home field advantage is no joke, especially in those playoffs. In the NBA and the NFL postseason, the home team typically has a 64% shot at victory. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After 22 very long days, two teams tonight in San Antonio will battle for one national championship to end the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament. It is National Championship Monday, live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. He is the coach, JY James Young. He is OK Dubs, that is Kevin Walsh, and I am Ben Stevens. We have about 50 minutes until tip tonight in our title tilt between Houston and Florida, 2-1 seeds inside the Alamo Dome seeking a national championship. After 62 games, we have reached this pinnacle of the sport and a national championship at stake on this Monday night. JY, your confidence level, your excitement level for National Title Monday is where?
Oh, it's on 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't know. What's the highest number I can go? Whatever number it is, I'm there. This has been something where, you know, I've been on this Houston team for the entirety of the season, even when it was a value play, Ben Stevens. But I think this is a game that it's going to come down to styles. And we get, let's be honest, unless you count Duke, the two best teams in the last couple of months in college basketball, facing off for a chance to win a national championship. Todd Golden, third year at the helm of Florida, and what he's done. Calvin Sampson, never been to a national championship game before. Finally got a Final Four win on Saturday. Does he get over the mountaintop and win a national championship in regards to getting Houston? So big matchup today, Kevin. A lot of storylines and hopefully some really good basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, you've got three guys all invested in the result of this game. Coach and I both with Houston. I know the Gators were your pick heading into certainly when the bracket was unveiled. The thing for me with Houston, and it's still even somewhat represented in today's line, they started the season as the favorite. Maybe book dependent, right? Some had Duke co-favorites perhaps, but despite Houston having an excellent regular season, their number wouldn't move. And that's what got me in on Houston above all else, right? I'm a numbers guy to, some degree with a lot of this stuff, and that's where you try and find value. So when Auburn is off to an unbelievable start, and they slice their number in half. You go, that makes sense. No movement on Houston. When Duke is rocking every opponent they play, and they slice the number in half. They go, Houston's doing nothing for us. When this Florida team surges the way that they did, okay, that makes sense. And then they jumped Houston. It's like, what's happening? Why is nothing Houston is doing good enough. And I am a little surprised. I know it is so marginal, but I thought Houston may end up actually closing as favorites in tonight's basketball game because, okay, now they beat Duke. And yes, it was an improbable comeback that I still somewhat can't wrap my head around, but they did it. They did it with their defense. The Duke Blue Devils could not score the basketball despite still right now being the number one offense over the course of this season on KenPom, because that's who Houston is. This year's team, though, different than other versions because this year's Houston team can also go down double digits and the game's not over.
Because they are the best three-point shooting team in the country, entering this national championship game in their home state inside the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. The Cougs averaging nearly 40% from beyond the arc. But we'll break down the matchups that we see and all of the key stat advantages that we will have entering tonight's game. To Kevin's point, more than 40 minutes away from our opening tip tonight in San Antonio. And Kev, the Cougs are a slight underdog, but ever so slight. It is 1.5 points in the spread. It is now 7 cents of distinction on the money line. Florida, an ever so slight favorite at -113, -106 on the other side for Houston. An over-under that stands at 140.5. The odds makers are expecting this game to be decided by the slimmest of margins. What say you?
Yeah, I actually think that it's plausible that Houston extends on Florida quite mightily tonight because I do not expect Walter Clayton, who has been absolutely phenomenal throughout this tournament, to be phenomenal within tonight's basketball game. Over the last two games, he scored 64 points, 30-plus in both, on 77.6% true shooting. I know maybe what's true. He's been unbelievably efficient, okay? It's out of control. The comp spot, of course, for Florida would be how those games against Tennessee went. Mm-hmm. They went 2-1 in those games. But Walter was not good, really, in any of them. Okay, maybe the last game he had 22. It was still inefficient. Over the three games, he averaged 13 points per game on 32% shooting from the field. They have relied so much on him in this tournament that unless we see everyone else step up, I don't think Florida has the horses here against Houston. Again, it's a different Cougs team. Usually like, all right, so we're in a phone booth tonight, 62-60, right? That's not how I see it. I think Clayton's efficiency drops off. And right now, I've not been given enough of a reason to trust then the surrounding factors on this Florida team.
Well, you kind of look at what happened with Duke, right? Cooper Flagg kind of we talked about it earlier off air. You know, he made the last, every field goal from 13 minutes left to go in the game.
Yeah, they were all
No one else could make a shot.
Yeah.
And if you really look at how Kelvin Sampson is not going to let this guy go off. He's going to do different things that Bruce Pearl didn't do. He's going to hard hedge that ball screen. He's going to trap it. Because you look at guys like Tugler, like Francis, these guys are athletic enough where they can go and double a ball screen and say, you know what, someone else is going to have to beat us that way. And I think that's the thought process. If you also think about the fact of 19.5 points, 18.5, I think it's moved to. Mm-hmm. Team total of 70. That's asking for an incredible amount to come from one guy against a team that's got multiple defenders that you can run at him.
And a march through the madness ends tonight in San Antonio. Let's start with Houston's side of it. The number one seed, of course, on that one line in the Midwest region. They knock off Tennessee in the Midwest Regional Final in Indianapolis and then pull off one of the great stunners and most thrilling comebacks we have ever seen in the history of the Final Four, matching the third largest come-from-behind victory down by 14 points against Duke on Saturday night with 8 minutes and 17 seconds remaining. Down by 9 with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in regulation. Down by 6 with 35 ticks left in regulation. You both were live on this desk on SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage of the nightcap on Final Four Saturday. JY, when you think about this Houston team, how they have reached this destination playing in their first national championship game as a program in 4 decades, what is the advantage the Cougs have entering tonight's national title tilt?
Honestly, one is their experience. They're battle-tested. They've been through the wars. And people are going to sit there and say, well, the Big 12 is down. Well, just tell me who they beat to get here. Beating Gonzaga, a team that should have never been on their seed line. Playing Purdue, and basically what I thought was a road game in Indy, right? Completely dismantling a Tennessee team that I do think beat Florida by 30 at some point earlier this year. And then what they did coming back versus Duke. They have played tough team after tough team after tough team. They're battle-tested. They're tough. They're not going to give in to what they do. It's just a matter of, can they do it one more time?
I actually will say, though, if Houston did not have this path, it would be harder for me to make my case because their regular season sample size against teams like Florida actually is they lost close, right? They lost close to Auburn. They lost close to Texas Tech in the regular season, the first meeting at home when Tech was healthy. It's this run that has reinforced some of the confidence in Houston. And I think one of the benefits for the Cougars is now every single type of team you could possibly play, they've played it since Gonzaga all the way through until Duke, of course, on Saturday.
The Gators, one of the most dangerous teams entering the Big Dance, winning the SEC tournament title in 12 of their last 13 before the NCAA tournament. We'll highlight Todd Golden's Gators on the other side of the break. Still about 40 minutes away from tip in San Antonio on National Championship Monday.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
National Championship Monday live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. A march through the madness has reached its final destination. A national title game between two number one seeds. Florida, the one seed in the West region, the champions out in San Francisco, who beat Auburn in the All-SEC showdown on Final Four Saturday night. Houston, the one seed in the Midwest region, the thrilling upset and comeback stunner against Duke in the nightcap on Final Four Saturday. We talked about the Cougars in our opening segment. Florida, the ever so slight favorite for tonight's national championship game. And Kev, when you look at this Gators team, not quite the resilience we saw out of Houston on Saturday night, but they were down by 8 at the break. against the Tigers. They outscore Auburn by 14 in the second half. They trail Texas Tech by double digits with 5.5 minutes remaining in that thrilling Elite Eight victory. When you look at how this Florida team is constructed, if you were to have confidence in the Gators tonight, where does it begin?
I think it begins with they're here despite having played a great half maybe twice. First half probably against Norfolk, and then the second half against Maryland. So that is, and let's, so everyone knows, right, I have my Houston tickets. I have laid off a little bit on Florida because I respect their ceiling, right? While I don't think they win this game tonight, I am not foolish. This is not a Cinderella, right? It's a team that by the end of the regular season, a lot of us were like, is that the number 1 overall seed? What's interesting, I feel, though, is Auburn's close to the regular season was talked about a ton, and it should have been. Florida's inability to be dominant in this tournament, albeit they're still winning, I don't feel has been talked about a ton. The fact that they were a live underdog for a ton of the game against UConn, a considerable live underdog to Texas Tech, and JY, a live dog during a lot of the game against Auburn. It certainly suggests that if they are down in this game tonight at moments against Houston, they're not out of it. But this is not just the way Auburn didn't enter the tournament playing their best ball. Florida is not entering this matchup playing their best ball.
No, and they're kind of throwing the ball around the gym. As you think about that first half versus Maryland, Ben and I were on together, and I think they had 13 turnovers and 11 fouls in the first half. You know, if they do that in the first half today against Houston, game's over. Like, they have to play their best 40 tonight because they're going to get challenged. Now, can they do it? Yes. Have they shown it? No. At least recently. You could say down the end of the regular season, SEC tournament, absolutely. But not since the tournament started. So they have to play their best basketball. Now, what they have is they can throw bodies at you. They can go 10 deep. They have 3 big men that are 6'10" or bigger, which could present problems to the Houston front line, especially with their propensity to really get offensive rebounds. If they get back to the way they've played at the end of the SEC tournament, where we talked about, we all 3 of us have talked about it at some point, that maybe they were the best team in the country the way they ended the season. But if we don't see that team tonight, Ben, I don't see how they win this game.
Florida had won 12 of their final 13 games, including that SEC tournament title win in Nashville to end things out. Back to you guys. Start talking about that over-under.
Yeah, so the total tonight here at 140.5, pretty much anywhere that you look, is a number I am betting towards the over. I think we know what Houston can be defensively. I think people are, though, understanding how good they are also offensively. It is not just what makes them good offensively, though, and I guess it is what makes them good offensively. It's the ability to shoot it, and that's great for a total. And it's the green light that Manny Sharp gets to play with, and L.J. Cryer plays with the same exact one. And I think Uzan tonight you'll see really motivated with the foul trouble that cost him his typical amount of minutes and what have you in that game against Duke. I think you'll see Texas Tech you'll see Houston shoot a ton from beyond the arc. And if at Florida's pace, I don't think Houston will be all that bothered by it. I really like this over at 140.5.
See, to me, I like the under still because I think this is the way that Houston is going to play. They are not susceptible to get play at a pace that's really too up-tempo. You even saw Tennessee when they were down big. They pressed, they broke the press, they got into their offense. Now, so the guy to watch if you want to see the pace to pick up is probably Elijah Martin because that's probably the guy defensively that may get up in the passing lane to kind of force the offense back. But I think Houston's very comfortable playing this game in half court. One thing that struck me that I kind of heard Kelvin Sampson talk about, it's possessions. He values possessions, guys, and it is based off of either getting offensive rebounds or limiting turnovers. Those are the things you got to watch in this game, particularly early. We saw with Duke, even though they couldn't hit shots, Juwan Roberts attacking the offensive glass early and often, keeping the turnovers down. If Houston wins the possession game and gets the O boards, keeps the turnovers down, that puts them in really good shape.
Both of these teams are top 10 when it comes to crashing the offensive glass. 4th to 5th, Houston is 10th. That will be a key matchup, of course, to pay attention to tonight in San Antonio. Kev, you think if Houston wins this national championship game, it can push to the over? The highest points prop for the Cougars tonight belongs to L.J. Cryer. He was 6 of 9 from 3 in that Final Four victory against Duke. He had 26 points in that matchup against the Blue Devils, a 30-point performance earlier in the round of 32 against Gonzaga. How crucial is he to what Houston wants to do offensively tonight?
Look, I think he's important, but he's not the end-all, be-all. So this is why, again, I've really enjoyed this season for Houston. If you listen to my preseason takes on them, it wasn't that I just didn't bet this team. I was like, you will not get me in on them. The prior 2 seasons, they had an NBA-level guard in either Shed or Sasser leading the charge. They didn't have it this year. They still don't have that, but they have depth. And so now instead of being reliant on one guy, if LJ is off, as he was against Purdue, Uzan's got it. Or if either of them are off, well, Manny Sharp, whether he's on or off, he's still going to shoot that thing, and he's going to shoot it from quite far. They have options. And that is the thing about this Cougars team. They are not in any capacity a one-man show. It is a team offense that can hit you with a barrage of triples.
A very balanced team with a ton of experience. Many of them a part of a Cougars team that made it to the Sweet 16 a season ago, an Elite 8 2 years prior to that, and of course a Final Four back in 2021. We continue to break down tonight's national championship game between the Cougs and the Gators on the other side of the break, live right here on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number 1.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central, just under a half hour away from our scheduled tip tonight in San Antonio, a national championship game between Florida and Houston. One of the storylines entering tonight, of course, the coaching matchup. Todd Golden, in his 3rd year in Gainesville, has led the Gators to their first national championship game since UF won back-to-back crowns in 2006 and, of course, finished off by 2007. Kelvin Sampson, who has been doing this for a very long time with 799 career victories, is hoping for win number 800, coaching in his first national championship game. Kev, when you look at this coaching battle and what we see tonight, the experience is with Kelvin Sampson, but that does not discount what Todd Golden has done for this Florida team. Where do you see the advantages in that coaching matchup?
The one thing that jumped out to me, it was something I was trying to figure out before the tournament got underway to see if there was perhaps a coach who fit the profile of the history of this sport and where typically you see a guy break through and win that national championship, because our entire one line, right, nobody had had that national championship just yet. So since 1999, which is right where it was Calhoun, it was his 27th season as a Division I head coach who won the national championship, right? Since that time, that is the most D1 coaching experience a coach has had to win their first. Guys to go, Cal won it in his 20th season, Jay Wright 22nd. However, in that window, everyone had been coaching for at least 13 or more years, except for two guys. Kevin Ollie, outlier. Coach Cal, can't believe you let that happen, because they beat Kentucky that year. And Izzo, you're number 5 at Michigan State. Mm-hmm. That's the Golden comparison that you want to make. What is interesting, though, is this is year number 32 for Kelvin Sampson. The argument I might make, and this is probably me trying to bend the rules a bit for Kelvin Sampson, is there's a huge gap in between starting point and when he took this job back here with the Cougars. And that would then kind of say, oh, he fits in a little bit more with what we've seen. I will say what is actually more fascinating to me is just how simple and the comparison that has to be, Coach, for Golden to Izzo, if Golden does cut these nets down in, 9 hours, whenever this game is.
And it's interesting because when you think about, someone like Tom Izzo, remember, he was Judd Heathcote's assistant for a long time. So he was there in Michigan State and got handed the reins. Todd Golden, I do believe, came from San Francisco, I do believe.
He was coaching at San Francisco,
yes. Right, where he came from. So Izzo understood the Michigan State way. This is a guy that came from across the country. I know he started as a Dobo for Bruce Pearl and Auburn. What you've seen out of Kelvin Sampson as a guy that has stayed true to himself since the days when he was at Washington State. He's been the same guy. He does the same drills. Listen, I've been coaching a long time. He does the same drills I've seen in the past. We used to call it the Oklahoma drill in football, where you roll the ball out, 2 guys dive on the floor for a loose ball, first guy gets it. This is the way he is. But that's the way he's branded this team in his image. It's interesting to see with a guy with such an old school philosophy is not only like, you see how those players love him, but then to look at the fact that he's got the number 2 recruiting class in the nation coming next year with continuity that maybe this old school style still kind of fits in new school basketball.
799 career victories for Kelvin Sampson. That is the second most among active D1 head coaches without a national championship. The 5th most all-time of any D1 head coach without a national championship. Not just seeking that first national title, but coaching in his first national championship game. If Florida wins tonight, that would be the 3rd national title in program history, becoming just the 10th school ever in D1 men's college hoops to win at least 3 national championships, all 3 in the last 20 years, alongside UConn, who has 5, and you have North Carolina, who has 3. Florida would be the 3rd school in the last 2 decades with 3 or more national championships. JY, back to you in the final minute of this segment. We'll take a look at the player prop profiles for this game on the other side. If Houston wins tonight, which you expect them to do, you think that total of 140.5 stays under. What is the key for this Cougs defense tonight in defending all that the Gators have?
Honestly, refs got to stay out of the way. Stay out of the way. Let this be decided by the players and let them be physical in their style. If they get into foul trouble, they're in trouble. The game goes over. If they can play their style half court and be physical and dominate the boards, then they'll win and get the under.
Florida's team total tonight, 70.5. In the last 19 games for the Cougs, dating back to the start of February, 2 teams have scored more than 70 points against Houston in those 19 games. Plenty more to come here on SportsGrid Bracket Central. A national title game awaits.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word. Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And 20 minutes remain in a long wait on this Monday night for the national championship game in San Antonio. Tip between the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars. Let's continue to dive deep, looking at a couple of player props for tonight's title tilt. Walter Clayton Jr. for Florida has the highest points prop in this national championship game matchup. It's at 18.5, a number he has been over in 4 or 5 games so far for the Gators in the Big Dance. The only game with fewer than that was against Maryland in the Sweet 16 victory. Coach, you expect Houston to do everything in its defensive power, and there is plenty of that, to contain Walter Clayton Jr. tonight. So in the secondary market for the Gators, who has to step up?
Well, to me, it's got to be the bigs. It's got to be Condon and Howard. I think they have to do something in regards to dominating the boards and getting to the offensive glass. We're a team that they are top 10, like you said earlier in the show, in the nation. They have to dominate the glass because I think it's going to be a poor shooting life for Walter Clayton. I think he's going to have to take a tough shots. I think the shots that he made against Auburn, I just don't see those. I mean, some of the shots he was hitting against Auburn were out of bounds, like literally out of bounds. The corner three, kick back to the side, I just don't see those going in. So to me, it comes about second chance opportunities. Look at them, and then maybe look at someone like Elijah Martin. I was on with Ben earlier today. I said, I think it was like 29-1 or maybe 32-1 for MLP. Probably not going to win it, obviously, but him as someone to maybe get out in the passing lanes and kind of create offense. If their offense is struggling, they got to get other guys, Kevin, to step up, because I do think that Walter Clayton Jr. will be shut down tonight.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to be inefficient in this game. I will say for Walter Clayton, I feel, again, Iona's proudest, right? I adore him. But what is now being put on him, I do not understand what is going on. I don't know how we made... Today, it was said by someone who actually covers college basketball. I spoke to teams, they think he's a top 10 pick. Okay, probably not. It actually could be as high as second or third. No, that's not true, man. You want to make the Kemba comparison, all good. Kemba went 9th. Yeah. And the Kemba thing was going on like much earlier than when this Walter phenomenon was going on. Shabazz Napier went in the mid-20s, and that's because Miami thought drafting Shabazz Napier was going to keep LeBron on the roster because LeBron was watching the tournament that year and kept tweeting that Shabazz Napier was good. And then LeBron went to Cleveland. So Walter Clayton's not going second, third, 9th, or 10th. What is, like, But I now wonder if he does struggle in this game, like what that reaction is going to be. Is it going to be, oh, he choked? Like this is just, again, they make fun of me in the back. I'm a bounce back merchant. In the same vein, I'm a sell high merchant. Walter Clayton just had the 2 best game stretch of his entire life, okay? Odds are that comes down this game. And that's the main thing for me. I'll say this, though, on his prop. And you're under it, I get it. But they're not giving you a number where you're paying for his excellence. They're giving you a number where you're going, oh, he's playing Houston. He's going out there and scoring 30 in 2 straight games, and you're getting a number comfortably lower than the number it was last game. You're getting a Houston price on that Clayton prop.
21.5 for Clayton Jr. in that Final Four victory against Auburn. He sailed through that with 34, but part of those numbers slightly depressed for the Gators, every one of them, because they are playing the nation's most efficient defense in Houston. They are also not giving you a discount on the 3-ball for Walter Clayton Jr. tonight. He hit 5 on Saturday in San Antonio, 3+ in the FanDuel Sportsbook, -250. 4+ is +130. The confidence never wavers for Walter Clayton Jr. Just to your point about his NBA draft prospects, there is a difference between being a highly successful college basketball player, excelling on the most significant of stages, and succeeding at the next level in the association as well, which is okay. 30+ in both the Elite 8 and the Final Four for the first time in the men's NCAA tournament since Larry Bird did so for Indiana State back in 1979. Kev, back to you. So much balance and depth for this Houston team. LJ Cryer, 16.5. Emmanuel Sharp, second highest number, 13.5. Milos Uzan, his prop on the rise ever so slightly, 12.5 points tonight. If it doesn't have to be one guy in front of everybody else, what does Houston need from everybody they have to win a national championship on this Monday?
Yeah, they're going to knock down their threes. They ended up finishing 10 of 22 against Duke in that game, despite a very cold start. That was a huge part in that comeback. You can get Houston to make 10 in this game at +200. You know how it goes, championship market, brand new markets. So there's 10, 11, 12. Florida has a similar market as well. I did play Uzan for 4 assists. He's in a clear and obvious bounce back spot in that category, plus an uptick in minutes will be coming. The 28 minutes that he played against Duke is because of significant foul trouble that he found himself in, and due to the way Kelvin Sampson approaches first half foul trouble. 2 fouls, you're hitting the bench. Rarely any exceptions. He actually made an exception in that game, tossing Uzan back out there. So I like him for 4 assists in this basketball game if we're talking prop-wise. I don't know if you played any. Another number I played on Florida is Alex Condon, over 14.5 points and rebounds. He was really good in 2 of the 3 games against Tennessee. He was really, really bad against Janai Broome. And he ended up finishing the game 0 for 5. But I think it's helped the number a little bit. At 14.5 points and rebounds, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to get 10 in either category, which then gets me a great chance to make up the other portion of it. I thought 14.5 at like a -104 number was pretty reasonable and a number I played.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been about Emmanuel Sharp because his ability to just shoot the ball and want to shoot it and not care if it's a good shot or not. He's going to take it whether you want him to take it or not, and I think Kelvin Sampson is okay with it. So I went back to Emmanuel Sharp, 3+ made threes. If you were listening to Kevin and I was screaming, shoot the ball literally every time the last 5 minutes of the game, and he finally hit it with under a minute left to go. But I think Emmanuel Sharp becomes a typical point. There's another thing you have to watch as well, and I heard Kelvin Sampson talk about this. He noticed the matchup, and he moved, if you watch, Emmanuel Sharp to the point in the second half as he saw how he was struggling to get into offense. So if they're hanging live props up during the game and you're able to, kind of see who's bringing the ball up the floor. If Emmanuel Sharp maybe moves to the point, maybe his assist you're looking at, but then you look at Uzan's, which is crazy. He's going to shoot, he's going to pass the ball.
Listen, I know they put him on the ball. You know how many assists he finished with against Duke? None. He's on the ball because he goes, sick, now I'll shoot it. Or they'll run a couple set screens and then he'll just come free. Also, they're never posting live Emmanuel Sharp assist props.
I don't believe
they never.
I don't even think they have a pregame number.
No, you're not finding that.
Not a pregame number on Emmanuel Sharp either for the FanDuel Sportsbook in terms of the assists. I'm back on Milos Uzan. I was on his 2+ made threes in the Final Four against Duke. That confidence wavered early in foul trouble for a significant portion of the opening half. I bet that number early on this Monday, over 11.5 points. It is now at 12.5. The point guard in the transfer from Oklahoma, I think, has a big night for the Cougs in the hunt for that first ever national championship in program history. I would also keep an eye on Juwan Roberts, not from a points perspective necessarily, but 6.5 rebounds is his prop. He had 12 in that national semifinal win against Duke. And JY, you know as well as many that with all the length and physicality Florida has, Juwan Roberts needs to be key to anchor what they do on the glass tonight for Houston.
And it's on both sides of the ball. He did a great job, especially in the offensive side of the ball with offensive rebounds early on in that Duke game when they were struggling to get shots. So 6.5 rebounds, I did play that as well. I actually was thinking about playing him to get 8+ rebounds at plus money because 6.5, the last time I saw was about -140. So I did also touch it at 8+ rebounds at plus money because he's going to have to keep those bigs of Florida off the boards, but also attack the glass himself.
Yeah, Juwan Roberts was a friend in that game against Duke. 6.5 bounds was the best bet. He had 7 of those puppies in half number one. So that was a good time. And I'll also just let people know we will be on the hunt live props-wise. We had a really fun find during last year's national championship game on a Zach Edey first half number. We had a comparable one on Saturday with Cooper Flagg to get to 25, where there was a disparity out there, and he was able to get there. So we're going to be on the hunt for those in-game numbers as well.
And that will be our charge throughout the entirety of the national championship game. But for just a few more minutes, our pregame best bets and how we approach the national title up next.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Just about 5 minutes away from tipping tonight's national championship game inside the Alamo Dome between Houston and Florida. Here's where the line is right now. Still a 1.5 in favor of the Gators, minus 113 on the money line. Only 7 cents of difference to the other side. Houston, an ever so slight underdog with a total that stands at 140 and a hook. Here is our charge for the remainder of tonight on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. We will sweat out our live bets with you. We will present those live wagering opportunities for tonight's national championship game, the final of this season in college basketball, and of course give you those live and genuine reactions to everything we see inside the Alamo Dome. Coach, we begin with you. What will the betting card look like for tonight's national championship game?
I'm going with Javon Roberts, 8+ rebounds plus money. Emmanuel Sharp, 3+ made threes plus money. Walter Clayton Jr., I got it a little late, so I got it under 18.5, and I'm going Houston on the money line and under 140.5.
Futures-wise, we're loaded up with the Cougs, a little bit off the table, so at least I'll be able to breathe if things go the other way during this game, but it's still Cougs, hands-up defense. I'm going to be guarding bad mid-game. He's going to be trying to bring it in. I'm going to be denying, ball denial. I'm very excited about that. I am on the over in this game at 140.5. If you want a final score, you're pushing me, you're begging me, all right, fine, 80-69, Cougs. That's where my head is at in this basketball game.
That's a double-digit margin there.
Yeah, it is, man. OK Dubs ain't scared. That's the one thing. I know Coach thinks this game's going to be played in a phone booth here. Either team gets a 3-point lead. They might call it off right there. Props-wise, it's Uzan for 4 dimes. It's Condon for 15 points and rebounds. I'll let you go through the card, then you and I could talk some most outstanding player because I got some questions.
Yes, you do, and we will have some answers. I am the only man on this desk for SportsGrid's Bracket Central coverage of the national championship game.
All right, don't make it sound like
says it's great to be a Florida Gator. We've been shopping all day long in multiple brackets. If Florida beats Houston tonight, I win a lot of money, and of course we'll have some pride here at the SportsGrid Network, and only that, just pride. I also have an 11-1 number on the Gators, bet back in early February. That number preseason on Florida was 60-1, 20th around the country in college basketball. Houston, one of the 3 or 5 best numbers before this year got underway. So I do also, like Kev, have a little bit on the other side just to make sure we can guarantee a profit on the Cougs as well for tonight's national championship game. My favorite prop bet, Milos Uzan over 11.5 points. That number closing at 12.5 for the Cougars point guard. Now let's talk most outstanding player, because more than likely the team that cuts down the nets is going to see their star win the MOP hardware. Florida enters as a slight favorite on the money line at minus 113. And no surprise, Walter Clayton Jr. is an odds-on favorite at minus 110. What more questions do you have for the most outstanding player award?
One, you saying most likely. I'll tell you this right now. If Walter wins this award in a loss, I'm going to be insufferable because of Zach Edey not getting it last year. I did mention this on Moneyline. I have officially now, I am now convinced it is just the Final 4 games that matter because of AZ Fudd winning most outstanding player for UConn as opposed to it being Paige Beckers, because that's also just doubled against the odds because that's Paige's team so much so.
And still at 17 in the national championship.
Right.
And you could have gone with Sarah Strong, who was so like the fact that it was AZ Fudd is like, okay, clearly this is just about these 2 basketball games. So with that said, it is going to be Walter if it's Florida, barring a miracle. I don't agree with the gap of LJ Cryer versus the rest of the team. Yes, LJ was their leading scorer, but man, like if we're giving out gold stars, Juwan Roberts was out of this world in that game. Of course, the stop against Cooper Flagg. Manny Sharp's timely buckets were so good. And I know he has no chance to win it, but JoJo Tugler, what he did defensively in that basketball game was super important. The Uzan number is interesting to me because it is so far down the board. If you look across that number is more than double on DK. 24-1 FanDuel, 50-1 on DK, which made that a little bit tempting. My big interest, because this is going to be really just decided on what happens tonight. If it is Houston, I would be willing to fade LJ in the market.
I mean, listen, I think when you look at it, yes, to me, I've always said Sharp. Sharp is the guy because I think if the game is close, it's going to be big shots down the stretch that he's going to knock down. So his number to me is the most intriguing one. If I'm going to go with obviously LJ, I'll just take him on the money line and just go right there. That's it. But I want to find a little bit more value there. And I think Houston is just so hard to predict because, like Kevin said, you can go 4 or 5 different guys with, if they have a chance to win. If it's Florida, it's Walter Clayton, and that's it.
Juwan Roberts, the 3rd best price, 2nd best for a Houston player at 10-1. Emmanuel Sharp at 11-1 as well. Houston will be the ever so slight underdog for tonight's national title game. It will be the third time and only the third time this year the Cougs have been booked as a dog. The two others, the Final Four against Duke, they won outright. They trailed by 6 points with about 30 seconds left in regulation. And then way back at the end of January, a trip to the Fog inside Allen Fieldhouse against Kansas. They trailed by 6 points with about 12 seconds remaining in overtime. Came back to beat KU. That's where we stand as we are moments from tip tonight in San Antonio in a national championship game. I will say this about our total. I think the correlated handicapping thought is if you like Houston, the nation's most efficient defense, who plays at the fifth slowest tempo in all of college basketball, well, this game has to stay under 140.5 each and every morning on the early line. We do a little ditty called the Fade the Public poll, where for a national championship game, you might expect the overwhelming betting public to select one of their favorite options for this title game, being that over. In fact, of our four options today, Kev, Florida minus 1.5, Houston plus 8.5, the over of 140.5, or the under, the least selected choice, the over 140 and a hook.
Don't
so
do that.
Fade the public, we shall, with a 30% profit boost. I am on that number, over 140 and a hook as well. The Gator
You're on
Green,
an island, pal.
Yeah, that's right.
and the
You're on an
Houston
island.
Red over there. The Cougars looking for their first ever national championship in program history. Florida hoping for its third in the last 20 years. JY, from the coaching perspective, one final time, the key matchup we all need to be paying attention to tonight.
Who wins the boards, and if the referees stay out of the way. Refs stay out of the way, Cougs win the boards, Cougs will get the win.
Bet over 12.5 points in the first 4 minutes of this game at plus 106, because, folks, we're going to be in the mix all night long, and I want to start early.
In those live wagering opportunities, our sweats and reactions to it coming your way up next as we are about to tip in San Antonio. It's the Cougars and the Gators with a national championship on the line.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are underway on National Championship Monday, live from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. In the first basket of our national title tilt, courtesy of the Houston Cougars. And JoJo Tugler, about 2 minutes into the national championship game, Cougs have an early 2-0 lead. Trying to add to it from beyond the arc, unable to. You can see that physicality early and often. Our charge here tonight on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. React and to present those live wagering opportunities. The one thing we cannot do is deliver that live play-by-play. Alex Condon gets Florida on the board. We are even at 2 apiece early. JY, from the coaching perspective, what have you seen in the first 2+ minutes of this national championship bout?
First thing I wanted to see is the first time Walter Clayton Jr. came on a wing ball screen, and they really came after him with a hard double, got it out of his hands, forced one long shot. Other thing, Houston already 2 offensive tip-outs early in the game, so they're definitely attacking the boards.
Really like what I see from Muzon right there on the drive. We did play that over 12.5, so someone's going to have to hit a 3 or a few, quite frankly, in order to in the first 4 to get us where we're trying to go. Condon's going to hit the line. Manny Sharp got to pull one. It was an awful shot, a.k.a. a perfect shot. What a hero, what a king. Is the live total dropping? We have to jump on in.
I believe it is. It is now at 138.5, but the Gators will be at the line. How about Alex Condon?
You're delayed.
Who had a single point in that Final Four on Saturday against Auburn, and now, more than likely, he has already passed that with the opening dunk of the game and is going to add on here for the Gators at the charity. One of the reasons I picked Florida to win the national championship, not just the backcourt, but the versatility that the big 6'11" Aussie presents for Todd Golden's Gators. He has filled up the stat sheet in other ways, Kev, but he's only scored in double figures once in the big dance. That was in the round of 64 opener against Norfolk State.
Well, okay, Dubs might have unlocked him here on his 14.5 points in bounds. So listen, kid, little thank you note. A lot of college players these days all upset at the gambler. Maybe we just helped out this kid get a little extra, little juice at the line here. Got to count your pennies. We need both of them. We get both of them, so we're up to 8. We need 5 in a minute and a half. We can get that.
I think one thing too is both of his baskets. One rim run off a make, and then second one rim run confusion between Tugler and Roberts. So Roberts look at Tugler and say, we're supposed to match up in regards to big on big. First one down the floor. So a little transition of Florida trying to go that way.
Oof. The one thing again right now is going to be who can get those triples to potentially fall, Coach, in bunches, right?
Yeah.
We saw that was the huge thing that made the difference for Florida against Auburn. They had an N1 for Will Richard, followed by a made 3 by Walter and a made 3 by Elijah Martin. Can Florida get it in bunches? Can Houston get it in bunches from beyond the arc?
Second leading scorer in that Final Four against the Tigers was Elijah Martin. He had 17 points for the Gators. JY, let me ask you this. Of course, any matchup that Houston plays, as we even saw against the Blue Devils, they're not going to have the advantage in size, but that does not mean they lack in physicality. How do you think both Jawan Roberts and JoJo Tugler match up against both Ruben Chinyelu and Alex Condon, who have that height advantage?
Well, listen, they're going to try and use their strength in that we already have one foul on both of them, right? On both Tugler and Roberts early on, as Elijah Martin just tried to put Tugler in. He's not scared of anybody. He tried to put him on a poster, but we get a block there by Tug, and then you get a block by Roberts right behind him.
Here's the thing, man. That's cute and all. I'm not scared of anybody. You just got blocked.
How about this JoJo?
This guy JoJo. Now we need 3 of them. We got 40 seconds to get 3 of them. Now root it in, Vito.
Right here.
Now root it in.
Total. Houston ahead 6-4. About 30 seconds left for Kevin Walsh to go over 12.5 in the opening 4 minutes.
Get down.
We're at 12.
Get down. Hey, someone's got to shoot.
A little bit of a collision down low between Florida's Ruben Chinyelu and Houston's leading scorer so far tonight in Joseph Tugler. We are tied at 6 apiece with 23 seconds left until that 16-minute mark.
It's got to be a foul. What are they doing over there, huh?
What's going on there?
Florida football over here all of a sudden, huh? What's just going on? This guy Ben's playing dirty.
Little fullback dive there.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it.
Oh, I gotta think about it.
We need a score. I mean,
you do.
Get it to Manuel Sharp. Otherwise, they're going to take this.
This is not the team you need when you only have 23 seconds until you get to the 16-minute mark. About 10 until we get there.
Go!
Manny.
We get a live reaction.
Manny.
We have 5 seconds.
Look at that thing! Oh, he missed the dunk! Up quick, Jawan! Oh! No, you can't be real. He missed the dunk. We missed 2 dunks.
For JoJo Tugler. Had a clean look.
We missed 2 dunks.
Had a wide open dunk and was unable
Come
to
on,
convert
man.
for the Cougs.
Oh, yeah.
And Old K Dubs.
Oh, Jesus.
Emmanuel Sharp not close on a three.
It's gonna be a long shot.
Tied at 6 early in the
Oh,
national
here's this guy.
championship. We've got plenty more coming your way when our second hour begins. Up next.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The first media timeout in tonight's national championship game in San Antonio. Fewer than 5 minutes gone in the opening half. We are all square at 8. The Cougs have 8. The Gators have 8. But right now, Houston, an ever so slight favorite on that live money line at minus 115. Our live total stands at 141 and a hook, up by just a single point, JY, from what we saw pregame. How have the first 5 minutes looked to you so far tonight inside the Alamo Dome?
What I've seen is Houston trying to, put his will on the offensive glass. We've seen 3 offensive rebounds by Juwan Roberts. Tip outs. Remember, folks, if it's a tip out, that still counts as an offensive rebound. So you've seen them attack the glass. On the other side, you've seen Florida try and rim run their first pick down the floor, which is just send them down the middle of the floor. And they've got a couple of cheap buckets, ends up confusion. So I'm sure Kelvin Sampson in the under 16 timeout, Kevin, is talking about making sure we protect the rim and play inside out defensively.
Yeah, a couple championship game options we're seeing here. FanDuel plus 115, Uzan and Clayton for 10 combined assists. Walter has 3 early. Uzan would have had an assist if we dunked that basketball. DK combined points, minus 125. Walter and LJ Cryer to get to 35. Combined threes, 6 is at plus 150. We don't have a made 3 yet in this basketball game, which led to, all right, maybe a little bit too late there.
Good behavior.
So really quick, you're seeing the ball screen. That's something that he must have saw out of the timeout because they've gone to it a couple of times where they're hedging and they're attached. Nobody attack on the weak side. So something to look out for in regards to assists down, especially for Cryer.
Yeah, but also I think for Walter Clayton, with the way that they're trapping him, he's going to have to get that ball out early, and he's going to potentially – these guys are going to be in advantages, right? If you can get the pass out from – come on now, man!
Oh, we got fouled. Oh, Juan's got to watch that. That could have been 2.
9 total three-point attempts tonight between the two teams. 4 for Florida, 5 for Houston. Nobody has tickled the twine just yet. But an offensive rebound, long to Thomas Houck, who pays it off with a dunk. We are all square once again at 10. Kev, one of our favorite things on the FanDuel Sportsbook for your live wagering opportunities, betting made threes between the two teams in a certain, call it 4-minute window, but really 3:59. We all bet 2+ made threes between the Gators and the Cougs from the 11:59 mark to the 8-minute mark of this opening half. Of course, we are hoping for more action from beyond the arc than we have seen so far.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons we made that bet, though, is there's attempts out there, there's not makes out there. Now, these are not great looks, admittedly. Walter Clayton is forcing looks because here, again, this is where it's going to be tough for Walter Clayton.
Yeah.
He has been able to get his quite easily for 2 straight games. This is unsettling. It is very tough as a college player, even if he's an older college player. Hey, how do you feel tonight, Walter, scoring 6, but with 12 assists? I don't know. He doesn't have that game log, right? But that's what Houston's telling him to do. We talk about what are you willing to give up to a star. They're not willing to let Walter Clayton get his tonight, that's for certain.
I think it's really sound as well. 3 dimes for Walter Clayton Jr., but already 2 turnovers. Elijah Martin and Walter Clayton Jr., Florida's 2 leading scorers in the Final Four win against Auburn. 0 of 5 from the floor. A combined 0 of 3 from beyond the arc as well. JY, we talk about this all the time with efficient defenses, and Houston is the most efficient in all of college basketball. You might see that they allow their opponent to take 43% of their field goal tries from 3, but that's not just like Houston opens up your 3-point attempts. It's because it's so difficult to get quality looks against the Cougs that oftentimes you settle for a contested 3-point shot.
Right, and you saw Todd Golden do something interesting, which is instead of having him on a wing ball screen, they had him off the ball, come off a pin down, dribble handoff, get him on the run to see what he get. Didn't matter. Still doubled it right away and forced a skip pass to the outside of the floor.
And I will say, because of how close this game was expected to be, 7 cents of distinction in the money line at those closing numbers right prior to tip, basically what we have seen so far in the early odds adjustment live, basically if there's a missed shot, whoever has possession, they flip to that slight favorite. Florida minus 125 as they take the ball down the floor. And Kev, our pregame total of 140.5, down by just a point early at 139 and a hook. Again, another long 3-point attempt from Walter Clayton Jr. Clanks off the back iron. Not a great start here if you are a Florida backer hoping for their biggest star in the tournament to excel so far in this game.
He's shooting 30-footers exclusively. And this is, again, what we talk about where it is very uncomfortable. And Walter believes, we live and die through me. And this is the difference. And we talk about it where, you're going to need a great game out of Walter Clayton, right, for Florida to win. Who does Houston need a great game out of? One of the guards. Yeah. That's the reality of it. And now so far, Uzan's got a couple good, driving scores, but Sharp and Cryer are not settling for drives. I wonder if Samson would be like, hey, man, like the threes are going to be there, but you've got to go actually and take the easy ones, take a couple of layups, and then the threes will get, a little bit easier looks. How many threes have Cryer and Sharp taken combined? 6, 7?
Get the updated number here. I believe they have taken 6, both 0 of 3. LJ Cryer 0 of 3 from the floor. All 3 of those attempts from beyond the arc. Emmanuel Sharp 1 of 5 from the floor, but 0 of 3 from deep JY.
And what you've seen with Houston is Houston's now trying to run their clock and they're trying to get matchups. They just got to switch, and then you saw Uzan get the ball back.
Yeah.
Almost a ball screen, wave them off to say, I got a matchup, I want to go one-on-one.
So, JY, we are seeing Walter Clayton Jr. have a miserable time so far against the best scoring defense in college basketball. If you are Todd Golden, how do you try to design and orchestrate things to get him a couple of better looks, if at all possible?
Yeah, I think you play him off the ball and try and see if he does something in regard to that effect of like the play they did before, or maybe use him as a screener. Screen and pop, guard-to-guard action, as somebody's shot selection.
That's an offensive foul.
Yeah. Somebody was.
Or defensive foul, excuse me.
Setting a screen. We are now in that 11:59 to 8-minute window, my friends, and that was the first 3 from Malik Wilson that was nowhere close. 11:20 remaining here in this opening half. Houston still in front by 2, 12-10. That would be a huge made 3 for us. That still does not go down. Still, no converted triples tonight, Kev. The two teams combined 0 of 12 from deep.
Yeah, look, and now 0 of 13. I've been here before as a total backer where you go, hey, look, I'm going to get my volume. Can I get it to go in? And sometimes you don't. And so far as somebody who's on the over, and I don't think it's probably great. That's obviously an offensive push-off. I mean, these Florida shots are terrible. His team's terrible. They're going to get dog-walked here. The second man, Sharp hits a couple of threes.
I like those rebounds by Javon Roberts, so that's 4 rebounds. They're out of rhythm because they've not seen a defense like this before. And they have to settle into their offense and see what they have to do. I think you have to get more out of the bigs, as Javon Roberts with
nice move.
The nice little move there.
That's some physicality against Alex Condon using the left hand and converts. Houston now ahead by 4, 14-10 with about 10.5 remaining here in the first half. We are under 12 minutes, but we have not hit the media timeout as a long-scoring job.
Hey, ready? That's 2 fouls.
That's big, though.
That's
why
2.
you mentioned it. Of course, the physicality and the aggressiveness of this Houston defense. JoJo Tugler trying to make it difficult on Walter Clayton Jr. A double way out beyond the three-point line. Picks up his second person.
And the problem I have with it is not just the fact it was a double, but he was going to his weak hand away from the basket. At that point, you just want to stay square and have the guard come and try with you, because now he's going to his left. To throw that skip pass back across the floor wasn't going to get there. Really dumb play by JoJo Tugler. First big foul of the game right there, second foul.
The Gators down by 4, 14-10. Houston in front. The Cougs have flipped to a live 2.5-point favorite, minus 148 on the money line. And Kev, our lowest total so far in the live total tracker for tonight's national championship game, an over-under of 134.5.
Yeah, I'm not going to run to the over right now. I will consider at some point. I think we're now wondering, will we get some made threes in this basketball game, right?
Made 3.
Like, we don't have one just – but here, this is the thing, man. Yeah. If you are Houston, there's a part of you goes, it's frustrating. We could be up more. But if you go, which one of these teams is more likely to start knocking some of these down? To me, it still feels like it's the best three-point shooting team in the country.
More on Bracket Central up next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central. Under 10 minutes remain in our first half of tonight's national championship game in San Antonio. Houston ahead by 6. Make that 3. Our first converted 3 of the night, courtesy of Florida's Will Richards. 16-13, Houston still in front. Very big for us. We need 2 plus-made 3s from either team.
Yeah.
Both teams have to hit, or can we get 2 from the Gators?
2 combined.
Well, we're good there then. All right, so we have just over a minute until we get to the 8-minute mark for that as well. Xavier Francis, second bucket of the night. Largest lead, almost largest lead of the night. The Cougs were up by 6. Now make that 5. We've got 60 seconds for another 3. Catches our first live bet here on the desk for the national championship game. 2 main 3s.
Take that off.
for
This
the
guy's playing
contest.
Joe Lisi style on us.
No, I'm looking at
No spoilers. The odds makers
I'm
oftentimes
looking for stats.
a little bit ahead, or those live stats at times a little bit ahead
Got him again.
of our studio television here in
Barbecue chicken.
SportsGrid.
Barbecue chicken.
Xavier Francis, at this moment,
What are you going to do with that?
Houston's leading
What are you gonna do
score
with
with
that?
6 points. The Cougs in front by 4.
Call
20-16.
a play, Ben. Your team's getting abused down low.
Listen,
No. I don't want to hear
I'm
it.
still liking what I'm seeing.
Are you?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What about this? Are you like?
What a great pass from Alex Condon.
This guy's got vision.
To find Denzel Aberdeen out 35 feet away. That's how you draw it up.
Oh, look at this kid. He's lost.
And that's a walk.
That's his second.
turnover
Yep.
for Alex Condon tonight. Too many steps each time, Jay.
And second time on what we call a short roll, where you get a double team and you don't dive all the way to the basket, but when they bring that defender, they're not ready for it. So either you got to push and shoot that ball right away, or catch it, pass it. They're kind of getting caught in between.
So, Kev, in your national championship game handicap, did you expect over 8 minutes, over 10 minutes into this game, with about 8 remaining, for Xavier Francis to be Houston's leading scorer with 6 points off the bench?
100%. I was like, listen, man, we're going to get into this game. No one's going to be able to make a 3, obviously. Condon's not going to understand that he can't walk every possession. It's. I think this is the fascinating thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he's getting hit.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sloppy ball there. Just a matter of moments as we hit the under 8 minute media timeout.
But this is the wild thing, right? You try and, when you're playing as bad as a team like Florida's playing, okay, you try and look for shining moments. I imagine right now Twitter is filled with Florida's playing so bad they're only down 4. In no planet is someone going to tell me Houston is playing well.
Right.
They're playing great defensively, which is why Florida looks the way they do, by the way. But right now, I feel that Houston's fixes on offense is a little bit simpler. Make the shot.
Yep.
Where Florida, they're not even generating, it feels like, a lot of the looks they are wanting in this game. I mean, does Clayton have an attempt outside of the 3 30-footers?
No.
He's taken?
All 3 field goal tries for Walter Clayton have been from at least 27 feet.
And I think that's the issue that you have with Florida is who is that secondary ball handler that can generate offense and generate shots? There isn't one. And if you look at an interesting play right there with Emmanuel Sharp driving to the basket, here's the crazy thing. If Emmanuel Sharp had made one of his first 3 threes, on that pitch back, that shot's going up. So that's the first time you saw Emmanuel Sharp be like, a little bit. And you kind of, if you walk to the sideline, you kind of saw Calvin Sampson look at him like, you're going to shoot it?
Still got to have
like,
that
still got to have that
confidence,
confidence to shoot the ball. So I think Kevin's right. I think Houston's getting better quality shots, whereas Florida is completely out of sorts. Now, let's see what happens. They should check Walter Clayton Jr. back into the game.
Emmanuel Sharp, by the way, was the guy in both of Houston's thrilling come-from-behind wins in the 2 games this year, booked as the underdog. They won outright. That hit that huge 3 with about 10 seconds remaining in overtime against Kansas. Of course, with about 33 ticks remaining in the Final 4 against Duke. And, Kev, to your point, Houston's ahead by 4. The best 3-point shooting team in the country is 0 of 7 from deep. L.J. Cryer, who had 6 made triples in the Final 4 victory against the Blue Devils, is 0 of 3. And, of course, as we shared, Emmanuel Sharp, also 0 of 3. The only made 3s in this game have been courtesy of one guy. It's been the Gators' Will Richard. The box score right now giving credit to Ruben Chinyelu for a made 3. He hasn't taken one all year. Now they just updated it. Will Richard is 2 of 2 from beyond the arc.
I didn't realize it was that bad. Right now, first half total is 61.5. That's about 5 lower than the pregame number. 3.5-point favorites for Houston on the first half spread. plus 230 for the Gators to win the first half. Those are never bad bets. Even if I don't necessarily see it going that way, that's a made 3, a stop, and it's pick, right? That's how fluid that market is. 13 points for Houston would get you over their first half number. What do you need? You need 14 to get through the Florida first half number. Or do you like...
That would give us 30 and 33, which would be over that live first half number, correct? So in the pregame first half was 66 and a hook.
Yeah, so
if I'm not mistaken.
So 26 points the rest of the way for a live total. The thing is, do we really have free throws coming our way? They're letting them play. Yeah. We're not really near the bonus. Like, we could use a couple of
no
easy
personal fouls
ones.
called yet on Florida.
Is that possible?
3 in total on Houston, 2 of them on JoJo Tugler, the other on Juwan Roberts. Jay Wise, we saw in that Sweet 16 matchup against the Terrapins, Florida's biggest issue, first half turnovers. Same story against Auburn as well. The Gators already 7 first half turnovers against this ferocious Houston defense.
Yeah.
How do the Gators clean it up?
I think what they have to do is they just have to make sure they shorten the passes. I think they have to be maybe keep Walter Clayton Jr. out of ball screens right now because it kind of seems that they're out of rhythm with that. But good play there, maybe a backdoor cut, little chin action, backdoor, got him right there for a layup.
Elijah Martin on the board for his first bucket of the night, cuts the deficit to just 2, 20-18. Houston still in front. I believe that might be the turnover.
No,
foul. It's a foul. Yeah.
Foul there on Florida. The first called on them tonight. And you got to like that for an offense that is struggling to find clean looks. First play, JY, out of the under 8-minute media timeout. Todd Golden calls up a good one.
Yeah, he calls a really good play, gets it to the center, kind of goes off a screen at the elbow, backdoor play because Houston's playing up on the guards.
The beautiful jerseys Houston's wearing, just on the record.
Crispy whites.
Yeah, they're really
Number
nice.
3 overall seed. Florida was the 4th and final team on that one line, so Houston gets awarded the home court advantage tonight. And, of course, you would expect in their home state a large Cougar contingent trying to root through H-Town's first ever national championship in program history. National championship, Houston has a 3-point lead, 21-18.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Just over 5 minutes remaining in the opening half. Walter Clayton Jr. for Florida after 34 in the Final Four, trying to get on the board, but Houston on a small spurt.
He didn't call that.
Yeah, he did.
Friendly glass for Malik Wilson.
Yeah, man.
Houston goes on a quick 8-0 run to take the largest lead of the night. The Cougs in front, Kev, 29-21 with about 4:45 left in the opening half.
You see that double jump?
Get loud in there, Ben! Get loud in here, pal!
Did you see the double jump stop?
Listen, man, he called that.
What?
Off glass. Thank you.
Just run back the other way, Malik.
Hey, why not us?
A Jordan Shrug?
Why not us, man? Cougalicious. Here's the thing. We have talked about this where if you're Florida, you go, hey, man, we can't really hit a three. Walter hasn't done anything. And then you realize, wait, we've hit more threes than them? Oh. But wait, their two best scorers have, like, Sharp has made one basket and Cryer just got his first three to fall. Like, that has been the issue for Florida right now as I'm watching this game. Is it's going as bad as possible for us. Like, you don't know how bad it's going for you, man. You don't, like, that. Let me throw it back truly.
Please.
It's early.
Yeah.
I get that they've been down before. But confidence level. Like, are you going to run to a live, pretend you had no tickets?
Yeah.
Would you be running the live Florida money line?
Live Florida money line, I don't know.
2-1.
Live 5.5 point spread. Interesting.
Okay.
Because is this game decided out of a 5-point margin based on what we expected on either side? I do believe there is some value on the Gators at plus 5.5. Live total 142 and a hook. But Kev, to your point, Florida's 3 of 10 from 3. And one guy has connected on all 3 made triples. That is Will Richard. And Walter Clayton Jr. not only doesn't have a single point, he doesn't look comfortable at all in this opening half.
And I think one thing I didn't like about it is as soon as he came into the game out of bounds, he took a wild three. Now, if he made 2 or 3 of them and you give him a heat check, give him a heat check. But that's just a guy that's looking like, I'm barely open, I'm just shooting it right away.
So quickly back to you. It seemed as though Todd Golden called a timeout.
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure where our studio monitor is here at SportsGrid, but that would make sense.
Yeah, Florida
with 4:46 remaining, Florida calls a timeout early here in the opening half. You use it or lose it. We heard from Alex Condon after the Final Four win and the second half comeback against Auburn. Todd Golden wasn't saying many niceties in that halftime locker room and was quite stern with his Gators team. It worked in the second 20 minutes. JY, what is he saying here late in the opening half in this timeout huddle?
It's a tale of 2 different possessions. It's the Walter Clayton 3 in the corner, and then it was the screen, roll, throw it back out to Richards in the corner.
Yeah.
Stop trying, especially Walter. Be the decoy right now. Come off the screen, read it right, get it to the big. Big, don't travel. You know they're coming to dig underneath, and find the guy open in the corner. Let these guys kind of knock down shots. And then if you're Calvin Sampson, then you have a choice. Do you allow that roller to go to the basket, or do you stop doubling Walter Clayton Jr., which then can open up shots for him?
What do we think about this first half total now?
Yeah.
65.5, right?
50 combined with 4:46 left.
16 points. Florida's got to push a little bit. Houston feeling a rhythm. I mean, I'm tempted by that.
Yeah.
Minus 114, it's not bad.
We're also on track. That live total up by a bucket, 142.5 from that pregame closing number of 140 and a hook. Kev, I do think we are going to see some offense at the very least to close out this half. I really do in the final 4:46. I will also just say Walter Clayton Jr. not only 0 of 4 from the floor tonight, all 4 shots from beyond the arc, and he has 2 turnovers. Only 4 personal fouls in total in this game. 3 on Houston, 1 on Florida. We have only seen 4 free throw tries in total. Juwan Roberts, 1 of 2. Alex Condon for the Gators, 2 of 2. Houston gets a good look, and then we'll have another look at it, but ball taken away by Alex Condon. 4:20 left here, JY, in the opening half. How imperative is it for Clayton Jr. to get on the scoreboard before we head into the halftime locker room?
I think it's imperative, but it doesn't have to be a 3. It's got to be something going to the basket.
He hasn't taken a 2 tonight.
Right.
I did take the 65, and it was 64.5. Usually it spins and says, you sure? They just gave it to me at the 65.5, which is fine. But That's where I'm at. So we're at 65.5 right now for a first half over. So I'm sure the under 4 is coming up. I know we're going to be hitting a break.
Yeah, approaching the under 4-minute media timeout tonight in San Antonio. Currently, the Cougs ahead by 6. Now, Malik, I know you clanked one off the glass, but that's not exactly the shot that Kelvin Sampson would desire. We do hit the under 4-minute media timeout with about 3:40 remaining in this opening half. Cougs ahead by 6, 29-20.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
At the under 4-minute media timeout in our national championship game in San Antonio, the team from the Lone Star State ahead by 6. Houston up 29-23 against the Florida Gators. 3:41 remaining in this opening half. In JY, the final 3+ minutes of this first half. What is going to be the biggest key that decides not only who was ahead at the break, but how the rest of the national championship game goes?
I really think for Florida, I think they may have found something with this wing ball screen and how high the bigs are playing. So if they're able to get some action out of that, that's something I want to watch right out of this play, out of the 4-minute timeout, is some kind of ball screen. They went to a slip there because they were expecting the big, but Roberts didn't fall for it.
The bet I made, by the way, at the break, as Alex Condon got absolutely out-toughed down low, was a plus 830 price on Florida first half money line. Down by just 2 possessions, having the ball at the under 4-minute media time out. Stuffed by Juwan Roberts, but ball last touched, I believe, at least the call on the court, by the Cougs. Kev, your first half over-under is what?
65.5.
Okay.
So
that'll help.
You're going to need a 3 or 2 in this window here. It'll depend if Houston slows it down and is not fruitful, and then Florida's like, hey, take a deep breath, everybody. We have a chance to cut this, right? Like, it's going to be right up against it. It's one of those numbers. We took a shot on it, though.
That's
an obvious foul, man. There's no way this team has only 1 foul on them. That's crazy.
That's displacement.
And there's now only about 3 seconds left on the shot clock, leading to a difficult 3-point attempt from Milo Uzan. Does not go. About 2:45. Florida down by 4 after a good baseline inbounds play. Ends up in the hands of the only guy doing a lick of anything offensively for Florida. That's Will Richard, who converts. He's got 11 points so far tonight. 3 made threes, and that made jumper there.
It's going to really come down to the bigs being able to finish around the basket.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing every time they go to any kind of ball, that looks like a line drive to center field.
Now listen.
Geez, this guy's got to slow down.
Malik Wilson is Houston's leading scorer at the moment. He's got 7, but he's not exactly the most naturally gifted offensive player, more known for his defense for Kelvin's team than what he is doing offensively at the moment. Just over 2 minutes remaining here in the first half. That tough Houston defense, Kev, continues to cause issues for the Gators. We have not seen another .29-25 at this moment.
Again, does Florida look comfortable ever in anything they're doing? Like, Condon is playing well, and yet every time he pauses on these rolls, it looks like he has no idea what is possibly going on.
I've seen that.
It's one of those situations here where their offense has no rhythm, and Houston is not a 20-25 basketball team in that they love a mid-range jump shot.
Sure.
Their players love it, but they can use those to get them into rhythm, and it can be incredibly valuable there. Also, Florida's done a whole lot of nothing on the offensive glass.
Nothing. And they are being out-toughed down low. A deep 3 from Will Richard, who I guess has maybe the only cautiously green light for Florida from deep right now, unable to convert. JY, Houston ahead by 6 with 81 seconds remaining here in this opening half. A minute 21, 31-25 the lead for Houston. What do you think that lead looks like for the Cougs at the break?
I think they're going to probably go back inside to Juwan Roberts here and try to get some kind of action with him. So I think they'll be up 8 at the break. They'll probably get a score here. Probably attack him right here.
That's Juwan Roberts.
That should have been. They may look at that.
They were looking for defensive interference on the glass. Less than 60 seconds remaining in the opening half. And again, the only guy doing
the ball. I hate this.
For Florida offensively is Will Richard. Hits his 4th 3 of the
you
night.
can't allow this, man. You cannot allow this. We just lost 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
You cannot allow that.
And they're going to probably call a timeout for the user to lose it right here.
So Will Richard made that shot with about 54 seconds left. The ball made its way to about center court, it seemed, based on what we can see. And because of that, the clock still runs even under a minute. The Gators have cut the deficit to 3.
And as a referee, you have the distinction to stop the clock. If that ball is rolling out, you could just stop the clock and say, all right, blow it dead, take the ball out of bounds. So obviously Houston's doing it for a reason, is because they want to get that thing as close to 30 seconds or so on that shot clock. So I think, the game clock, so I think, what is there, about 25?
No, there's still 33.
35 seconds.
So the shot clock will be there, but pretty close in terms of where it stands for Kev's first half total. Obviously not what you're hoping for.
No. So here's the thing. That's a smart thing. I hate that.
Yeah.
True, like the easiest fix in the world, the same way the clock stops at the end of the game, just stop it under 2 minutes first half.
Yep.
That looks ridiculous.
Well,
you just lost.
By the way, we're
15 seconds of your game.
Replay here. That ball is technically over the cylinder.
So that's going to be.
Before Micah hand-logged and knocked it off.
And they're not going to give it to him, or are they still reviewing it?
No, they could go to the monitor to the monitor if they want to, if they think there's evidence. So maybe they're not.
Maybe they'll do it at the half. 31-28 right now.
They're supposed to do it the next stoppage. I'm shocked that they're not looking at it.
They must have looked at it and said it was fine.
Yeah, they must have, because they have a chance. They're allowed to look at that if they want to.
All on the floor was a clean defensive rebound for Florida. Not so sure that was the case. Houston ahead by 3, 31-28. Under 30 seconds remain. 15 left on the shot clock, Kev, about a 12-second differential.
Yeah, you're going to look to see if L.J. Cryer or Sharp can get one to go, just to see if there's a little momentum before the half ends, because those guys sure could use it. They've not been very close.
Oh, my God.
Goodness.
On these threes, Houston. They've not been very close.
So what they've done, Florida, is they've iced on that ball screen, and what Cryer shot it, what they need to do is they need to go underneath the ball screen, snake out of it.
What does iced on the ball screen mean?
Ice means that you force them down, you get on top of the screen, and you zone up with the big, forcing that ball for you to go downhill.
Will Florida get a shot off before we get to the halftime break? Will Richard does hoist one from deep, but unable to convert. So after 20 minutes of our national championship game tonight in San Antonio, it is the Cougs ahead by 3, 31-28. Houston was the moneyline underdog, entering the moneyline underdog for the opening half, so they made good on that number. Our first half total, around 66.5 pregame, does stay under. Kev, your first impression of these opening 20 minutes is what?
I think that it's Houston's defense has given them a great chance to win, but it is not going to be enough to close out Florida, who is still a very talented basketball team. If Houston continues to shoot bricks to this degree, I would be worried about their standing in this basketball game. Defense has been great. Their offense has been worse than Florida's, which is insane to say, but is true, as they are shooting it worse from the field overall, certainly from three, and they're 1 of 2 in their opportunities at the line.
The only thing that if you're Calvin Sampson, you're happy about is you're +8 in shot attempts. You're getting more shots to the board. Now, obviously, 2 for 14 is terrible. I mean, listen, you take Richard out of the game. These two teams are combined, I think, 2 of 22 from 3 if you take one guy out of the lineup. So
that is correct.
If you're Calvin Sampson, you have to relax and say, guys, and you should have just shot 2 air balls in a row. They're getting, except for the one with the first 3 by Cryer, they're quality threes. I don't know if all of a sudden the depth perception's bothering them or something's bothering them, but they're getting quality looks. Florida, on the other hand, if you're Todd Golden, you're saying, Walter Clayton Jr. couldn't be any more terrible. We got one guy that's got 14 out of our 28 points, and we're down 3.
Would you accept, though, if I said between Clayton, Cryer, and Sharp, that Clayton might be playing the best of them, though, because at least he has 5 assists?
Yeah.
But my point, you're not wrong that, like, hey, Walter can't be this bad. Manuel Sharp and LJ Cryer are 3 of 13, 1 of 9 from 3, 7 combined points, 3 combined assists. Like, they are also doing nothing. Like, you look at this game, and Will Richard is giving you an outlier. This is how we win a title performance, right? And all that's been good for is Florida not getting run out of the gym.
He is 4 of 6, that being Will Richard from 3. Everybody else on Florida is 0 of 8. Houston, our nation's best 3-point shooting team this year in college basketball, is 2 of 14 in the break, but they still lead by 3. More on SportsGrid's Practice Central next.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are at the half of the national championship game between Houston and Florida. The Cougs ahead by 3, 31-28 after a rough offensive start in the opening 20 minutes, really for either side. Houston was a pre-game slight underdog, catching a 1.5 in -106 on the money line. Where we stand after the first 20 minutes, Houston is an ever so slight favorite. 1.5 in the spread, -138 on the money line, and a pre-game total of 140.5 is down by 5 points to 135 and a hook. JY, let's start with the Cougs. They shot awfully from beyond the arc. The nation's best three-point shooting team, entering tonight at nearly 40%, was 2 of 14 in the opening 20 minutes, and yet the Cougars are in front by 3. What is Kelvin Sampson telling his team here at the break?
Relax. I mean, the shots are there. You just got to be able to make it. I wonder if they try to keep going back inside a little bit, because you can obviously see that when Robertson and now Tugler comes back, and remember, he got 2 quick fouls. Keaton not getting that third foul really quickly. Obviously, Francis gave him some really, really good minutes. I think he's got 6 points, I do believe, and a couple of rebounds, and I think a block shot in the first half. But to me, I want to see how they attack Florida. If Florida continues to ice that ball screen, because it definitely rattled Houston a little bit. What you can look to do is, like I said, snake it, which you get under the screen and snake it and get to the middle, or you pass it to a guard and you try and punch a gap. That's how Uzan got that one made pull-up, was punching the gap when he was not the one involved in the ball screen.
I'm just trying to find something live here. People are asking, and I'm not sure at the moment where to go. 135.5, you would need 77.5 for number 2 to get there. It's plausible.
Yeah.
It's plausible. But I think at that point, then, I'd rather bet Houston to do to get through their 68.5, right? More so than the full number. Props-wise, I mean, the FD options are not good, flatly.
No.
The DK options are significantly more enticing. Clayton and Cryer to combine for 25 total is even money. That's 20 second-half points.
Yeah.
4 more made 3, so 5 plus. That's plus 215. Those are a little bit tempting. I mean, Walter Clayton has 0 points.
That's a story here. That's a huge story in the opening half. Walter Clayton Jr., who had 34 points to spur on that second half comeback against Auburn in the Final Four, has 0 here in the opening half. He is 0 of 4 from deep, and he is 0 of 4 from the floor. The only 4 field goal tries for Florida's leading scorer from beyond the arc. He has not converted on any. He does have 5 dimes, but also with 2 turnovers. 15-plus points now for Walter Clayton Jr. is a plus 300 number on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, the pregame points prop, 18.5. My favorite prop at the break is Will Richard for Florida, who is the only guy doing a lick of anything offensively. He is 4 of 6 from deep for 6-plus made threes, only needing 2 in the next 20 minutes. Is plus 155. Not the worst look, as he still has the confidence here for the Florida Gators, is this game's leading scorer at the break with 14 points. He's the only guy that has more than 7, and he's got 14. JY, back to you. If you are Kelvin Sampson and the Cougs right now, again, you are not shooting the basketball well. You are 14 of 37 from the floor. You are 2 of 14 from 3. You are the nation's best three-point shooting team, who shot it better than a 45% clip in that Final Four thrilling win against Duke. But if you're looking for points of optimism, you are winning the turnover battle at a plus 7 margin. You only have 2. In Florida has 9. That defense stifling. You only have 3 team personal fouls. 2 on JoJo Tugler, not great, but only 1 in the first 20 minutes on Juwan Roberts. If you are the Cougs, what are you highlighting from that points of optimism you hope to build on in the second 20 minutes?
Well, I talked about the fact that they wanted to win the possession battle, and they've gotten 8 more shots up at the rim, and they've turned the ball far less. So you're looking at yourself saying, we're doing what we need to do. Now we have the quality shots. I'm enticed by, I think it was 6.5 to 1, Juwan Roberts double-double at plus 650. Now, hear me out. This is one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. Played a little bit timid in regards to not wanting to get his second foul. Gets through the first half of 1 foul. We saw the one play which we think should have been reviewed. He should really have, honestly, 5 points right now rather than 3. They're not going to change it now, of course. But to me, Juwan Roberts, 1 of 6 from the floor, getting stuff around the rim, playing him more aggressively. I think Juwan Roberts, 6.5 to 1 for a double-double is enticing.
Yeah, it certainly is. Roberts is going to have to get it going. At that point, then I wonder about his chances to win Most Outstanding Player.
Or just checked it myself.
Which, the funny thing is now I feel as if perhaps the rest of the group has missed the opportunity, and now Crier's like, all right, I'll just figure it out from here. Saw the mid-range go in, took another three. Obviously, when it was a clank. The question becomes here, and this is this game going to just be awful scoring-wise?
Hope not.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The fouls, right? You were wondering, Coach, they're going to let him play. We've had 4 fouls. I mean, I would say there's about 0% chance we don't finish this game with like 15 total fouls,
That's
right?
a huge advantage for Houston.
Huge.
Say why, from a coaching staff perspective, whether it's Todd Golden or one of the assistants on the staff, are you trying to argue with the referees or at least speak to the referees of like, hey, they're getting a little physical? You're trying to kind of get the favor in your way. How do you do so?
Oh, you're waiting for that referee to kind of get, we call it the C, which is the middle official, and you're trying to whisper in his ear. If I'm the referees, and here's the thing you have to wonder. Do they go into halftime and just say this? And this happens sometimes, right? And we saw it with the Houston game versus Tennessee. Like, we may have to start blowing our whistle a little bit. Like, this game is pretty ugly. We may have to tighten this up a little bit. So that's something that you're going to watch the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half is how the referees call it. Do they call it a lot tighter and call more fouls, or they continue to let them play? The more they let them play, obviously, is advantage Houston.
We'll continue our halftime show on the other side of the break. Let me ask you, Walter Clayton Jr., 0 of 4 from deep. Will Richard, really the only guy doing anything offensively for Florida. We tried to highlight the points of optimism for Houston. Is there one right now for the Gators?
Yeah, I think it again, though, is you have Richard has stepped up and been outlier great, but you don't have you've not burned other good performances there. I also think at halftime you can now address this with Clayton, and whether it's, hey, listen, you got to just start driving, because he's an incredible free throw shooter. And if he can start to get a couple of free ones going, that can start to get their offense going. They've scored at least 40 in the second half of every single one of their tournament games so far.
Houston at the half, up by 3, 31-28.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
He'll never stop shooting a basketball the rest of his life. All he's going to do is become one of those old, famous ex-players that's in the Hall of Fame, that's a legend, that shows up at games, just like his dad did. His dad shows up at games. His dad was never as good as he is. And his brother is the lost soul. Like, they don't even care about his broke ass. This guy, Steph Curry, can play forever.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
These guys are barreling everything right now that are hitting well. Pitching is usually ahead of hitting this time of year, but torpedo bats is what we're reading about, Tom, and I think it's hilarious.
Will the pitching be out in front, or are the bats actually this strong? So it's going to develop over the course of weeks. And again, if all teams have the ability to do so, be creative with it and get out there and use it.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Our halftime show on SportsGrid's Bracket Central on this National Championship Monday continues. Still at the break, the Cougs in front by 3, 31-28. Houston, a pregame slight underdog, now a slight favorite at the half. 1.5 points in the spread, minus 138 on the money line. A pregame total of 140.5 has dropped by 5 at the break to 135.5. Kev, as you are looking at the live odds in these wagering possibilities for the next 20 minutes that will decide a national championship, is there anything that stands out to you?
So I am going to make 2 plays. We've talked about them both here on the desk, and I think that they are ultimately both worth it. One of them is in line with my pregame thoughts of backing Houston on this total. I'm going to play the Cougars over 68.5 as a team. If you say, well, hey, we mentioned the Florida number. Yeah. Florida's going to put up another 40. Well, I still think Houston's going to win this game. I think the Cougars are due for more on the offensive side, actually, than Florida, so it's right in line. I'm on that. The other one is a little bit against my pregame expectations, but I think still worth it, which is Clayton and Cryer to combine for 25 points at even money. You think about our pregame numbers. Those 2 guys combined props got you closer to 40 total points. Now, you need 20 here in the second half from these guys, but I think talking this out here with the team, I think Walter Clayton has to wake up and realize I've just taken 30-foot threes. That's a ridiculous way to play basketball. Let me drive and see if they'll give me some calls here. They've not called a lot of fouls. They're likely to call more fouls here. I'm an unbelievable free throw shooter. Right. It's exactly what he did to get the second half going against Texas Tech. I like 25-plus out of Walton LJ, even money.
I like that look as well. Of course, one of the main storylines of this half here in the national championship game, Walter Clayton Jr., after 34 in the Final Four win against Auburn, held scoreless in the opening 20 minutes. 0, a goose egg, nada, zilch, 0 of 4 from the floor, all 4 attempts from beyond the arc. JY, as you are looking at this, taking the coaching outlet on it and the scouting perspective as well, is there anything that you have seen in the opening 20 minutes that you think these coaches will adjust to here at the half that presents that live wagering opportunity at the break?
Well, one thing I think you're going to see is you're going to see Houston do a better job of getting back on defense and defending the rim in regards to the rim runner. What that does do, to your point, you guys' point, is that could open up transition three. Because if you dive the rim runner, now you have to play inside out defensively, and now that opens up the three-point shot. So that's something that I would watch for Houston to do defensively. For Florida, you continue to do that ice action that we saw the last minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the half. If you're Calvin Sampson, you're going to address it. If you're Todd Golden, you're supposed to be going to the next one because you know you're working on it. Last thing, wing ball screen for Florida. I think Walter Clayton's got to be comfortable right now being the facilitator and getting Condon and the bigs open on that roll. And then if that opens up and you see that happen, then jump on Walter Clayton threes, because as the rolls are happening, you're going to have to take away the roll. That should open up the three for Walter.
Of course, Florida trailed by 8 at the break against the Tigers. Todd Golden, by all reports, and as the story will be told in Gainesville, absolutely lit into his team. They beat the Tigers by 14 points in the second half to advance to the national championship game. JY, you always mentioned from that coaching perspective how critical when your team is trailing at the half, the first 4 minutes of the second half become. For that first 4-minute money line in our second 20 minutes, Florida minus 110, Houston minus 110. The first 4 minutes in terms of the total points, that over-under 12.5 is that number. What do you think we see from the very jump in the second half?
I actually think you're going to see some threes made early in the second half. So to me, I like the over. Even though I'm on an under, I think you're going to see it because we saw that with the Duke game where it kind of opened up the scoring a little bit early in the second half. So I think you're going to see some shots being made. I like the over 12.5 points or whatever, 12 points to start the first 4 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, look, that was how this show began.
Yes.
I don't need to begin both halves like that, respectfully, fellas. So I'll root it in. I cannot simply go through that. I'll also just give the people a little bit of an update because, of course, a big part of our tournament coverage is our guy Joe Lisi. And very appropriate, Championship Joey was all over Walter Clayton's assists heading into this game. So
how, man?
Listen. And he's like, I'm getting knocked around this baseball. 7 runs, Cardinals, Twins. I don't know what's going on here. So Baseball Joey's rooting in the dimes out there if anybody wants to root with him.
10-plus assists for Walter Clayton, needing 5 more in the second half is a plus 500 number. Clayton Jr. still has the shortest price, for Florida to win most outstanding player, plus 230. Will Richard, plus 390 number for the Gators. Plenty more to come on Bracket Central next.